Hi, everybody. Well, we did it. We hit 90 degrees today. Remember, the forecast was either we were just going to hit 90 or we were just going to miss. And much of the valley just hit 90 degrees, becoming the seventh 90-degree day of 2023. And it's a slam dunk that we become 8 days tomorrow, 9 days on Wednesday. I mean, confidence is pretty good that we could do it on Thursday. That would be 10 days. And then after that, we'll fall off. So, PDX, 90 degrees right on the button today. Good forecast. Actually, the low this morning was 59. My numbers today were 59 and 90. When I hit them both right, the low and the high, I'm a basketball fan, a sports fan. I call that a double double because I hit the two temperatures exactly right. So that makes me happy. Doesn't happen that often, actually. So PDX 90, Troutdale 90, Hillsboro 90, McMinnville 90. I'm looking at my sheets here. Salem 90, Corvallis 90, Hood River 90. Wow. Dallas, excuse me, not Dallas, but the Dalles out in Wasco County, 96. That's one of the spots that could hit 100 degrees tomorrow. So we're off and running with what could be 4 days in a row of 90-degree temperatures. I was out on the golf course today, and just getting back in and kind of getting everything looked at. I do want to touch on the fire real quick. I did my due diligence. I got home and I rifled through all the information. So this is from the Cathedral Ridge camera out in Hood River this afternoon, looking back across at the wildfire smoke today from that fire that's in Skamania County, somewhat near White Salmon. So the latest update on this, what's being called the Tunnel 5 fire, came in at 3 o'clock today. And at that time, they reported 546 acres burned. Now, the good news is the 8 o'clock report this morning had 546 acres burned. So maybe the fire kind of held its own today. This morning, they were saying 10 homes destroyed. I noticed they are not saying that in their 3 o'clock updates. I don't know if that's still true or not true. They're still saying there's more than 200 homes threatened. If you think about this, I think you can tell by the camera from Cathedral Ridge, but this fire is burning down pretty low to the Columbia. So if you've ever been along SR 14, there's homes all over the place, right? So a lot of people, very uneasy times. 5 crews battling it, 166 some personnel. And the bad news is that they've already put out a containment date on this fire for August 1st, which means they're going to have a lot of very active fire work this week to start to build any containment. So I know KGW is planning on being out there tomorrow. I'm sure all the news stations will be as well. So, and we don't expect a lot of smoke from this fire into the valley, but certainly could get hazy at times. And in fact, I noticed a little bit of haze even when I was driving back into Portland today. So also, let me keep on that thought for a second. The weather smoke models that I have access to at KGW TV, they are showing a little bit of Canadian smoke starting to filter down from the south in the coming days. None of this looks bad. It just looks to be a little hazy. Okay. All right, big story. Let's talk about what's coming up. So the heat advisory, we hit 90 today, which my projection was to do it or just barely not, and we did. Heat advisory tomorrow and Wednesday, both days. If you look at what we call the 850 millibar, the 5,000 feet temperatures, they support temperatures near 100 degrees both days. So heat advisory in play for the orange area. This is not changed. It does not include the immediate coast where you see some white. That's the immediate coast. It does not include Cowlitz County. Now, Cowlitz County, if you look on the map, there's kind of that reddish tone. That's a red flag warning for high fire danger back into Skamania County, where, of course, that fire is burning. But from Clark County southward, including the Cascade foothills, including the Coast Range, that's the heat advisory area. So here's a look at some of the temperature projections. These are updated maps. This is the European model for tomorrow. Notice it shows PDX, I've circled in yellow the valley. It shows PDX at 95, has 96 degrees down in Salem and Albany, and then 97 farther to the south. Has 97 out in the Columbia Basin in Pendleton as well. What they call the National Blended Model, which is a really good model. It's fairly new from the National Weather Service. That model is going 96 tomorrow. It was going 97. Now it's going 96. Okay. So anyway, easily well up into the 90s tomorrow, with I think mid 90s being what we expect to hit. And then some of us could go into the upper 90s. Pretty widespread heat. Wednesday still looks to be by maybe just a degree or two, the hottest day of the bunch. And again, the heat advisory in play tomorrow, Wednesday. So here's Wednesday. I've circled, this is the air mass map at 5,000 feet. And I've circled in white that hot air core from West Texas through New Mexico, through Arizona, through Nevada, and then boom, pushing up into Oregon, right? So thank goodness that the center of this doesn't get overhead, but we'll be feeding off of it. And I still think if you look at the position of the core of this air near the Cascades and off to the east, it stands to reason that we will see cooling west winds set up somewhat tomorrow afternoon eventually, and especially on Wednesday. And that makes the temperature forecast really tough because you don't know exactly when that cooling breeze is going to set in. When it does, it cools temperatures. So here's Wednesday, European model on the left, a big fat 99 degrees, a big fat 100 degrees over in Pendleton. Goes, I don't know why it would go 90 down around Salem and Albany, but it does. And then 96 in Eugene. That doesn't make any sense to me. Or 92 down in Eugene. And then if you go to the American GFS model, not as warm, 95 on Wednesday, 98 out in the Dalles. But again, we're generally in that mid to upper 90s with at least the chance that somebody gets up to 100 degrees. So none of this information has changed. This has been a really consistent forecast model or forecast in general going all the way back to the mid part of last week when we started talking about it. Okay, this is courtesy of KGW TV. I grabbed these maps up. This is Futurecast that we use at the TV station, and these are surface winds. So if you look at the arrow, so on the left side, this is tomorrow at 3 p.m., Tuesday at 3 p.m. And if you look at Tillamook, see the arrow pointing, that's bringing in a northwest breeze. The wind's coming from the northwest. 16 mile per hour gust at 3 p.m. if we're exactly right. Look at Portland. It's more of a north breeze, 19 mile per hour breezes. Salem, more of a north to northeast breeze. Look at the arrows, 16 miles per hour. Out in the gorge, an east wind near Carson, or at least a northeast wind out into the Dalles. Later in the day, a lot of those wind directions will kick around more to the west. Now, look to the right. On the right is Wednesday at 5 p.m. Again, this is supposed to be the hottest day. Now, notice, see the yellow colors bouncing off the coast range down around Lincoln City, down into Salem? Those yellow colors are generally some spots that are at least 20 miles per hour. So this shows there's a little bit more wind coming in on Wednesday. And notice at 5 p.m., the arrows are much more predominant coming in from the west, northwest to the west, including out in the gorge in Carson and the Dalles. So if that's true, again, well, because there's no real, I talked about this yesterday, there's no real dominant wind flow. So because of that, the heating will kind of kick its own wind flow. As we start to heat up in the valley, west winds will start to come in off the coast. And again, that makes the temperature forecast really tough because, as I mentioned, it's tough to tell exactly when that happens. And until that happens, the temperature is going to keep going up. Okay, I apologize. These are from early this morning. I should have recopied them a moment ago, but I didn't. So they show you for Astoria, the 67 degrees was the forecast high for today. The 72 is the forecast high for tomorrow. And then the 68 is Wednesday. This is surprisingly cool. That's definitely a west breeze. That would be noticeable coming in. And then I'm sorry, I think my button is kind of covering up the Dalles. But this showed the Dalles at 94 today. We now know the Dalles hit 96. So the forecast model is going 95 tomorrow, but we know that it was too cool today. So I would think upper 90s tomorrow. And then 99 to 100 in the Dalles on Wednesday, 99 to 100 on Thursday, still mid 90s to maybe upper 90s on Friday. So that's a hot forecast out there in Wasco County. All right, how about the Valley? Portland, Salem, Eugene. Again, the first numbers, this projected 89 in Portland today. We know we hit 90. My forecast was for 90. We did it. Salem, it said 91. Salem hit 90. Pretty good. So tomorrow, this goes Salem 99, and then Wednesday 98, and then cooler on Thursday. The same model, this is not a model. This is the National Weather Service numbers. The National Weather Service forecast numbers for tomorrow. 95 in Portland, 97 on Tuesday. But again, everybody's kind of at least mid-90s to upper 90s, and some people are flirting with 100. Down at the bottom, high temp potential of that air mass core that I was showing you, 95 to 91 degrees. Okay. So a lot of numbers. I hope this is not confusing. Here are my numbers. You know, I've had 97 degrees for the 4th of July for about 5 days in a row now. I don't see any reason to change it. We're going to at least be in the mid-90s, and we could be somewhere in the upper 90s. 97 would tie the record high for tomorrow. Wednesday, I've actually lowered. Yesterday, I had 99. I've cooled that off to 98. growing confidence that we're not going to hit 100 because those westerlies kicking in the afternoon. But 98 would break the record of 96. Thursday, it's still in the 90s. That'd be 4 days in a row, 92. And then Friday, I've lowered a little bit, 84. Saturday, I've lowered, kind of a morning cloudy, partly cloudy day, 80. Sunday, 80. So I've lowered the weekend temps, 80, 82. That looks great. And then 85 on Monday. Okay. I'm sure you're being bombarded by, be smart, drink water, do your heavy lifting outdoors in the morning if you must. I always like to add, throw in a hat. Sunscreen's a big deal. Staying hydrated is a big deal. You know how it works. Your pets need fresh water. They need shade. If you have any friends, especially elderly, who don't have AC, check in on them. You know all that stuff. All right. Let's see how hot we get the next 2 days. I'll talk to you soon.